Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers kept changing, but they made no sense. He had been working at the Korean Deep Space Monitoring Station for 3 years. He knew what normal space signals looked like. This was not normal. The signal came from far away, beyond the outer planets where no human ship had ever gone. It pulsed in patterns that seemed familiar yet wrong, like someone trying to speak a language they barely knew. "Computer, run the signal through all known communication protocols," Jae-sung said. The computer beeped. "No matches found." Jae-sung leaned back in his chair. The monitoring station was quiet tonight. Most of his team had gone home hours ago. Only the emergency crew remained, watching for asteroids that might threaten Earth or the mining colonies. But this signal was not from an asteroid. He played it again. First came a series of mathematical sequences, prime numbers, then squares, then something more complex, then came coordinates, then something else. Something that made his skin crawl with its desperate tone. The signal repeated every 17 minutes. It had been doing so for the past 6 hours. Jae-sung picked up his phone and called Captain Lee Dae-ho. "This better be important, Lieutenant." Dae-ho's voice was thick with sleep. "Sir, I think you need to see this. We're receiving a signal from unknown origin. It's not human." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Captain Lee Dae-ho arrived at the monitoring station wearing his uniform, but looking like he had dressed in a hurry. His hair was messy and his eyes were red from sleep. But when he saw the signal on Jae-sung's screen, he became fully awake. "How long has this been coming in?" Dae-ho asked. 6 hours and 37 minutes, sir. It repeats every 17 minutes exactly." Dae-ho studied the patterns. He had served in the Korean Space Defense Force for 15 years. He had seen signals from mining ships, research stations, and military vessels. He had never seen anything like this. "Get Dr. Choi Min-ah on the line and wake up Admiral Park So-young. Tell her it's urgent." Within an hour, the monitoring station was filled with people. Dr. Choi Min-ah, the fleet's chief medical officer and xenobiology expert, stood next to Dae-ho as they watched the signal repeat again. "The mathematical sequences are clearly intelligent," Dr. Choi said. "They start simple and get more complex, like someone trying to prove they can think." "And the coordinates?" Dae-ho asked. "They point to a star system about 40 light-years from here, the Kepler 442 system. We know it has planets, but we've never sent ships there." Admiral Park So-young's face appeared on the main screen. She was calling from the orbital defense station above Earth. Her expression was serious. "Captain Dae-ho, Dr. Choi, what exactly are we looking at?" "Ma'am, we believe this is a distress signal from an intelligent alien species," Dae-ho said. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. In the background, they could see other officers moving around the command center. News of the signal was spreading. "Are you certain it's not human?" she asked. "Positive, ma'am. The signal structure, the frequencies, even the mathematical approaches are completely different from human methods. But the intent is clear. Someone is asking for help." Dr. Choi stepped forward. "Admiral, the repetition pattern suggests extreme urgency. In human psychology, when people are desperate, they repeat their cries for help. This signal has the same quality." Admiral Park So-young closed her eyes. Every person in the room knew what she was thinking. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. And the first message was a cry for help. "What's our fleet status?" she asked. "The KDS Baekdu and 6 other ships are ready for deep space operations," Dae-ho replied. "We can be underway in 12 hours. The Admiral looked at something off-screen. Then she looked back at them. "Captain Dae-ho, prepare your fleet. We're going to answer that call." The next 12 hours passed in a blur. The KDS Baekdu had been built as a mining ship. Like most human vessels, it was designed to work in the harsh conditions of space. Asteroid fields, solar radiation, and the crushing emptiness between worlds. When humanity expanded beyond Earth, they learned to build ships tough. The Baekdu was 800 meters long and built like a fortress. Its hull was thick enough to survive asteroid impacts. Its engines were powerful enough to move mountains of ore. Its life support systems could keep a crew alive for months in the worst conditions space could offer. When the Space Defense Force needed military ships, they took mining vessels and added weapons. The results were not pretty, but they were incredibly tough. Commander Kim Tae-woo checked the weapon systems for the third time. The Baek-do carried mining lasers that could cut through solid rock and railguns that could launch ore containers at incredible speeds. Not traditional weapons, but effective. "All systems ready, Captain," he reported. Dr. Choi Min-ah prepared the medical bay. If they found survivors, she would need to treat injuries from beings she had never seen before. She packed every medical, scanner, and treatment device the ship could carry. Sergeant Major Bae Hai-jin checked the marine equipment. Her soldiers were trained for boarding actions on pirate ships and rescuing crews from damaged vessels. They wore armor designed for working in vacuum and carried weapons that could function in any environment. Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung set up the communication systems. If they were going to meet aliens, they would need to find a way to talk to them. As the fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system, Captain Daeho stood on the bridge of the Baek-do. Through the main window, he could see Earth spinning slowly below them. Blue and white and beautiful. "Sir," Jae-sung said, "we're receiving the signal much stronger now that we're in space. I'm getting more details." On the main screen, the signal played again, but now they could hear something behind the mathematics and coordinates, sounds that might have been voices, alien voices speaking in fear. "How long to reach the source?" Daeho asked. 47 hours at maximum FTL speed," replied the navigation officer. Daeho nodded. In 47 hours, humans would make first contact with an alien species. He wondered if they were already too late to help. "All ships, prepare for FTL jump. We have a distress call to answer." The Korean fleet vanished from Earth's solar system in flashes of twisted space and time. Behind them, Earth continued its ancient dance around the sun. Ahead of them lay the unknown. None of them knew that they were about to discover humanity's true place in the galaxy. Earth, with its high gravity, deadly weather, and dangerous life forms, was what the galaxy called a death world. Most intelligent, species came from peaceful planets where evolution was gentle. Humans were different. They were the children of a world that tried to kill them every day. They were stronger, tougher, and more determined than any species the galaxy had ever seen. They were about to prove it. As the fleet traveled through the strange space between dimensions, the alien signal continued to call across the void. Somewhere, in the darkness, someone was waiting for help that might never come, but help was coming. The Deathworlders were on their way. The Korean fleet dropped out of FTL space and into a nightmare. Captain Daeho stared at the main screen in shock. The planet below them was burning. Huge fires covered entire continents. Smoke rose into the atmosphere like black fingers reaching for space. "My God," whispered Dr. Choi Min-ah. Around the planet, alien warships moved in slow circles. They were sleek and dark, shaped like sea creatures from Earth's deepest oceans. Each one was easily twice the size of the Baek-do. "Count them," Daeho ordered. 23 ships, sir," Commander Kim Tae-woo replied. His voice was tight. "All of them bigger than anything in our fleet." Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung was working frantically at his station. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from the planet's surface. Very weak. The mathematical signal is coming from down there." "Any signs of life?" "Yes, sir, but fading fast." Daeho made his decision. "All ships, move to rescue formation. Prepare for hostile contact." The alien warships noticed them immediately. 3 of the dark vessels turned toward the human fleet. They moved with deadly grace, like sharks sensing blood in the water. "Incoming transmission," Jae-sung announced. The main screen flickered. An alien face appeared. It was reptilian, with golden eyes and teeth like knives. When it spoke, the translation computer struggled to keep up. "Unknown vessels. You will retreat immediately. This system is under the authority of the Krath Empire." Daeho stepped forward. "This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Korean Space Defense Force. We received a distress signal from this system. We're here to provide humanitarian aid." The aliens' eyes narrowed. "There are no humans in our records. You will leave now or be destroyed." "We're not leaving without helping the survivors." The aliens smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "There will be no survivors. The Veltari are being processed." The transmission cut off. "Processed?" Dr. Choi asked. Commander Kim studied the tactical display. "Captain, those alien ships are positioning to attack. We're outnumbered almost 4-1. Deho looked at the burning planet. Somewhere down there, the beings who had sent the distress signal were dying. The first aliens humanity had ever met were being murdered, and the murderers wanted Earth's children to just leave. "Sergeant Major Bay," he called. "Yes, sir? Prepare boarding parties. We're going down to the planet." "Sir," Kim interrupted, "the alien ships won't let us pass. Then we'll have to go through them." The battle began when the Krath ships opened. Fire. Beams of energy lanced through space toward the human vessels. The Korean fleet scattered, moving in patterns learned from dodging asteroids in mining fields. The Baekdu shook as enemy fire hit the hull. But the thick armor held. Ships designed to survive collisions with space rocks could take a lot of punishment. "Return fire," Deho ordered. The mining lasers that had cut through countless asteroids now turned on alien warships. The rail guns that had launched ore containers now hurled metal slugs at incredible speeds. The first Krath ship to take a direct hit simply came apart. Its sleek hull, designed for intimidation, could not handle weapons meant for industrial work. "Impossible," came a transmission from another Krath vessel. "How are these primitives fighting back?" Commander Kim smiled grimly. "They expected us to run. They're not ready for a real fight." But the humans were. Every ship in the Korean fleet had crews trained in the harsh conditions of space. They worked calmly as alien fire burned around them. When systems failed, they fixed them. When hull plates cracked, they sealed them. The Krath had expected to fight civilized beings from peaceful worlds. Instead, they faced the children of Earth's. "Violence! Launch shuttles!" Deho ordered. "Get to those survivors!" 3 shuttles raced toward the burning planet while the fleet held off the alien warships. Sergeant Major Bay led the rescue mission personally. The planet's surface was worse than it had looked from space. Cities lay in ruins. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of death. But the human Marines moved through it all like they were walking through a park. They found the survivors in underground shelters. The beings inside were unlike anything from Earth. They were tall and thin, with large eyes and skin that changed color with their emotions. Right now, their skin was the gray of despair. "Please," one of them said in broken universal translate. "Help us! The Krath! They take our people! They eat them!" Dr. Choi, who had come down with the rescue team, knelt beside the wounded aliens. She had never seen biology like this before, but she worked to save them anyway. "How many of you are left?" she asked. "Few. So few. We sent the signal hoping someone would hear. But who could fight the Krath? They are too strong." Bai looked around the shelter. There were maybe 30 survivors, mostly children. The adult aliens were all injured. "Ma'am," one of her Marines called, "you need to see this." Outside the shelter, they found the evidence of Krath processing. Cages. Butcher shops. The aliens were not just conquering worlds. They were harvesting them. "Dear God," Dr. Choi whispered. Back in space, the battle was turning. The human ships were smaller and fewer, but they were built by a species that had learned to survive on a world that tried to kill them every day. The Krath vessels, built for intimidating peaceful aliens, were no match for human engineering. 2. More Krath ships exploded under the concentrated fire of mining lasers. A third lost power when a railgun slug punched through its reactor. "Sir," Jae-sung reported, "I'm intercepting Krath communications. They're calling for reinforcements. They're talking about following us home." Deho's blood ran cold. The aliens had Earth's location now. And if they were willing to butcher an entire planet for food, what would they do to humanity? On the planet's surface, Dr. Choi was learning disturbing facts from the survivors. "Your world," one of the Veltari said. "It is a death world, yes? High gravity, violent weather, dangerous creatures." "How do you know about Earth?" "We know of death worlds, planets so dangerous that only the strongest can survive. We thought they were myths. But you are real." The alien's skin shifted to a color that might have been awe. "The Krath fear deathworlders most of all. They say beings from such worlds are impossible, too strong, too fierce. They say deathworlders would destroy the galaxy if they ever reached the stars." Dr. Choi realized the truth. To these aliens, humans were not just another species. They were legendary warriors from a world of nightmares. And the Krath Empire had just discovered that the legends were real. Back on the Baekdu, Captain Daeho was reaching the same conclusion. The remaining Krath ships were retreating, but they were broadcasting continuously. "What are they saying?" he asked Jae-sung. "They're warning their empire about us, sir. They're calling us—" The translation is unclear, but I think it means the impossible ones or the nightmare species. Daeho looked at the tactical display. 7 Korean ships had just defeated a Krath fleet 3 times their size. They had rescued alien survivors from a genocide. And they had announced humanity's presence to a galaxy that apparently lived in terror of beings like them. "Admiral Park needs to know," he said. "Signal Earth. Tell them we've made first contact. Tell them we're at war." The Korean fleet prepared to leave the system with their alien passengers. But as they did, Daeho knew this was only the beginning. The Krath Empire now knew about humanity. And if the Veltari were right, that knowledge would spread fear throughout the galaxy. Earth's children had answered a cry for help. In doing so, they had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. The Deathworlders were no longer hidden. Admiral Park So-young received Captain Daeho's message while she was drinking her morning coffee. By the time she finished reading it, the coffee was cold and forgotten. Humanity had made first contact. They were at war, and they had just rescued the survivors of an alien genocide. "Get me the president," she ordered, "and the UN Security Council, and every fleet commander we have." On the Korean flagship Baekdu, Dr. Choi Min-ah was treating the rescued Veltari. Their biology was strange, but not impossible to understand. They were herbivores, evolved from creatures that had lived peaceful lives on a gentle world. "Doctor," one of them said, "we must leave this system. When the Krath reinforcements arrive, they will bring many ships. Your small fleet cannot survive." "Doctor," Choi looked up from her patient. "How many ships?" "Hundreds, maybe thousands. The Krath Empire spans half the galaxy. They have been conquering for 1,000 years." In the ship's briefing room, Captain Daeho was having the same conversation with the Veltari leader, an elderly being named Velthos. "Your people saved us," Velthos said, "but you have doomed yourselves. The Krath will follow you home. They will destroy your world as they destroyed ours." "Then we don't go home," Daeho replied. Commander Kim Tae-woo looked shocked. "Sir, we stay here. We make our stand in this system. If the Krath want to follow us home, they'll have to go through us first." "Captain," Kim said carefully, "we have 7 ships. They could bring hundreds. Then we'll have to be better than hundreds." Velthos stared at the human captain. "You would sacrifice yourselves for beings you just met?" "We didn't come here to sacrifice ourselves. We came here to help, and we're not done helping." Over the next 3 days, the Korean fleet prepared for the impossible. They had no way to return to Earth without leading the Krath straight to humanity's home. So they would stay and fight. Sergeant Major Bae Hai-jin worked with her Marines to prepare boarding actions. If they were going to be outnumbered, they would have to take enemy ships from the inside. "Ma'am," one of her corporals asked, "how do we fight aliens?" "Same way we fight humans," Bae replied, "except they're not used to fighting back." The first test came when a single Krath scout ship arrived to check on their forces. It found 7 human vessels and no Krath ships at all. "This is impossible," the scout's transmission said. "Where is Battle Group 7? Captain Daeho answered personally. "They left. We suggested they might be happier somewhere else." The scout ship tried to run. It didn't make it. Bae led the boarding action herself. The Krath vessel was luxurious inside, built for comfort rather than efficiency. The aliens aboard were warriors, but they had never fought anyone who fought back. The human Marines moved through the ship like they owned it. The Krath had built their vessel with artificial gravity slightly lower than their homeworld's norm. For humans from Earth's high gravity, it felt like floating. "Contact!" one of her Marines called out. The Krath warriors were impressive. They were larger than humans, with natural armor and claws. They roared threats and charged into battle. Bay shot the first one in the chest. It kept coming. She shot it again. It stumbled but didn't fall. Tough, she admitted, then shot it a third time. This time it stayed down. The other Krath stopped roaring. They had never seen beings that could take their attacks and keep fighting. They had certainly never seen beings that could shrug off wounds that would kill most galactic species. Surrender, Bay offered. They did. From the captured Krath, Dr. Choi learned disturbing facts about galactic civilization. Most intelligent species had evolved from prey animals on low-gravity worlds. They were peaceful by nature, weak by human standards. "You are predators," one captured Krath said. "We are predators too. But you are apex predators from a death world." "What's a death world?" Dr. Choi asked. "A planet that kills, high gravity, violent weather, dangerous life. Most species that evolve on such worlds destroy themselves before reaching space. Those that survive..." The alien looked afraid. "They become legends." The captured scout ship's computers contained star charts and military intelligence. "Commander," Kim studied them carefully. "Captain," he reported, "the Krath Empire is mobilizing, not just a few ships. Everything they have. They're calling it the Deathworlder threat." "How long until they get here?" 6 days. 6 days to prepare for a battle against impossible odds. The Korean fleet worked frantically. They used materials from the asteroid belt to reinforce their hulls. They modified their mining equipment into more effective weapons. The Veltari survivors helped as much as they could. They understood Krath technology and tactics. More importantly, they understood the galactic political situation. "The Krath have allies," Velthos explained. "The Vex Collective and the Nexus Hierarchy. If the Empire calls for help, they will come." "Why?" Deho asked. "Because you scare them. Deathworlders are the stuff of nightmares in galactic culture. Species that can survive on worlds like yours are too dangerous to be allowed to spread." Dr. Choi was fascinated by the medical data from the captured Krath. Their biology was impressive by galactic standards. Strong bones, efficient muscles, quick reflexes. By human standards, they were fragile. Their bone density is about 60% of human normal, she reported. Their muscle efficiency is good, but they've never had to develop the redundant systems that let humans survive massive trauma. "What does that mean for the fighting?" Bay asked. "It means we're tougher than they expected, much tougher." Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung was monitoring galactic communications. The news was spreading faster than light speed. "Captain, the entire galaxy is talking about us. The Krath are calling for a holy war against the Deathworlder threat. But some species are asking questions." "What kind of questions?" "They want to know if we're really as dangerous as the Krath claim. Some of them are wondering if we might help them against their oppressors." On the 6th day, the Krath fleet arrived. 300 ships dropped out of FTL space in perfect formation. Battle cruisers, destroyers, fighters, and massive dreadnoughts. That dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. "My God," whispered Kim. The fleet commander's face appeared on the main screen. He was larger than the previous Krath, with more elaborate armor and scars that spoke of many battles. "Deathworlders," he said, "I am war leader Krathnos. You have interfered with Empire business for the last time. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Captain Deho stood up. Behind him, his bridge crew worked calmly at their stations. They were outnumbered 50-1, facing an enemy with superior technology and centuries of military experience. They were also the children of Earth, and they had come here to save lives. "War leader Krathnos," Deho replied. "This is Captain Lee Deho of the Korean Space Defense Force. We don't surrender, we don't retreat, and we don't let bullies hurt innocent people." The war leader's eyes widened. In his experience, facing such odds, any sane species would beg for mercy. "You are 7 ships against 300. You cannot win." "Maybe not," Deho admitted. "But we're going to try," the war leader snarled. "Deathworlders, you are as insane as the legends claim." "Very well. You will die as warriors. Begin the attack." 300 Krath ships opened fire, space filled with deadly energy beams and missile swarms. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet. The Korean fleet scattered like leaves in a hurricane. But leaves from Earth were tougher than most. "All ships," Deho broadcast. "Show them what Deathworlders can do." The battle for the future of galactic civilization had begun. The impossible happened in the first hour of battle. The Korean fleet, outnumbered 50-1, not only survived the initial attack, but struck back with devastating effect. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids sliced through Krath. Armor, like paper. Railguns that moved mountains of ore punched holes in enemy dreadnoughts. War leader Krathnos watched in growing horror as his fleet took losses it should not have been taking. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. His tactical officer was pale with shock. "Sir, they're ships. They're built like fortresses. Our weapons are damaging them, but they keep fighting. And their weapons, they're not military grade, but they're incredibly powerful." Across the galaxy, other species watched the battle through hijacked Krath communications. What they saw changed everything. 7 small ships were fighting 300 larger ones, and winning. On the Veltari homeworld, now called New Veltar by its few survivors, the impossible battle played out on every screen. Elder Velthos watched, from the bridge of the Bekdu, as human marines prepared for another boarding action. "This cannot be real," he whispered. Dr. Choi Min-ah, treating wounded from both sides, looked up from her patient. "What can't be real?" "Your people, humans. You fight like forces of nature. The Krath have conquered 1,000 worlds. They have never faced anything like this." On the medical bay screens, they could see Sergeant Major Bay leading her. Marines onto another captured Krath vessel. The aliens inside fought desperately, but they were no match for humans who had evolved to survive on a planet that tried to kill them daily. The boarding actions were becoming legendary. Human Marines operated in sections of ships where the artificial gravity was set to crush most species. They fought in areas filled with toxic gases that would kill normal galactic life in minutes. They kept fighting with injuries that should have been fatal. "Doctor," one of the wounded Krath said, "what manner of beings are your people?" Dr. Choi checked his injuries: 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, and a concussion. He would live, but he wouldn't fight again soon. "We're humans," she said simply. "From Earth." "Earth must be hell itself," the alien whispered. Across the galaxy, the news spread at the speed of light and faster. The Deathworlder legends were true. A species from a nightmare world had reached the stars, and they were everything the stories claimed. On Nexus Prime, the cybernetic rulers of the Nexus hierarchy held an emergency meeting. "Analysis complete," Unit Prime announced. "Human combat. Effectiveness exceeds all known parameters. Recommend immediate military alliance with Krath Empire. Specify threat level," Unit Secondary requested. "Extinction level. If Deathworlders achieve galactic expansion, all current power structures will collapse." On Vex Crystal, the crystalline beings of the Vex Collective sang their concerns in harmonics that made their cities ring like bells. "The flesh that endures has come to the void between worlds," they chanted. "The old song spoke true. The children of pain worlds bring ending of all." But not everyone in the galaxy was afraid. On peaceful worlds throughout Krath-controlled space, other species watched the battle with growing hope. The Zephyrians, whose homeworld had been conquered 50 years ago. The aquatic Merdai, whose people had been enslaved for decades. The plant-like Sylph, who had been hiding in asteroid belts since their world was destroyed. For the first time in generations, someone was making the Krath Empire bleed. Commander Kim Tae-woo coordinated the fleet's defense from the bridge of the Baekdu. The tactical display showed the impossible situation clearly. 300 red dots surrounded 7 blue ones, but the red dots were disappearing. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've destroyed or disabled 47 enemy vessels. Our casualties are 3 ships with moderate damage." Kim stared at the numbers. They didn't make sense. No fleet should be able to achieve these results. But humans weren't any fleet. Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung was monitoring communications across the galaxy. What he heard amazed him. "Captain," he called to Daeho, "I'm picking up transmissions from dozens of species. They're talking about us. What are they saying? Most of them are terrified, but some are asking if we're taking volunteers." Daeho looked at the communication screen. Text scrolled past in dozens of alien languages, but the translation, computers could handle most of them. Seeking contact with Deathworlder fleet. Zephyrian resistance requests alliance. Mare Dai freedom fighters offer assistance to human forces. Sylph survivors wish to join fight against Krath oppressors. The galaxy was watching, and some of them wanted to help. Dr. Choi was learning more about galactic biology from her patients. The differences were staggering. "Your average bone density," she explained to Velthos, "is about 40% of human normal. Your muscle efficiency is excellent, but you have no redundant organ systems. If a human gets shot in the chest, we have backup systems that can keep us alive. You don't." "And the Krath?" "Better than most species, but still fragile by our standards. Their warriors are impressive, but they've never had to evolve the kind of toughness that Earth demands." Velthos was quiet for a moment. "Doctor, when this battle is over, will your people conquer the galaxy?" Dr. Choi looked shocked. "Conquer? We're here to help people, not conquer them." "But you could, if you wanted to." She thought about it. Humans were proving they could defeat any military force in the galaxy. With Earth's industrial might behind them, they could probably build a fleet large enough to conquer everything. "I suppose we could," she admitted. "But we won't. That's not who we are." On Earth, the news of the battle was causing panic and wonder. In equal measure, every government was mobilizing their space forces. Every shipyard was working around the clock to build more vessels. President Kim Ji-won of Korea addressed the United Nations. "Our people answered a distress call," she said. "They found genocide and chose to fight. Now they face impossible odds to protect innocent lives. This is who we are as humans. This is who we choose to be." In the asteroid belt, the battle continued. War leader Krathnos was beginning to understand the truth. His empire had built its power on fighting peaceful species who couldn't or wouldn't fight back. They had never faced a species that was born for war. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 of our ships." "Surrender? To 7 enemy vessels?" "Sir, they're not just 7 vessels anymore. On the tactical display, new contacts were appearing. Small ships, fighters, and converted cargo vessels. Rebels and freedom fighters from a dozen oppressed species were arriving to join the humans. The Deathworlders had become a rallying point for everyone who had ever suffered under Krath rule. Sergeant Major Bay was coordinating with alien volunteers now. A Zephyrian pilot who flew like his life depended on it. A Murdai engineer who could repair human ships with tools made from space junk. A Sylph medic who understood biology in ways that amazed even Dr. Choi. "Ma'am," the Zephyrian pilot said, "my people have been waiting 50 years for someone who could stand up to the Krath. We thought no one ever would." "Why us?" Bay asked. "What makes humans special?" "You're from a death world. You don't know how to give up." On the bridge of his flagship, war leader Krathnos was facing a truth his empire had never had to confront. They were losing, not just the battle, but the war for galactic opinion. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout our territory. Resistance groups are mobilizing on dozens of worlds." "How many?" All of them, sir. Every species we've conquered is rising up. The Deathworlders had done more than survive the impossible battle. They had inspired an entire galaxy to hope. Captain Deho received a transmission from Admiral Park so young on Earth. Captain, the main fleet will arrive in 72 hours. Can you hold until then? Deho looked at the tactical display. The Krath fleet was down to less than 200 ships. His own force had grown to nearly 50 vessels as volunteers arrived from across the galaxy. Admiral, I think we can do more than hold. I think we can win. Win? Against the entire Krath Empire? Ma'am, we're not fighting the Krath Empire anymore. We're leading a galactic revolution. The Deathworlders had answered a simple distress call. In doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history. The rebel fleet had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. What started as 7 Korean ships was now over 200 vessels, fighters and freighters, mining ships and patrol boats, all flying together under human leadership. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked side by side, united by their hatred of oppression. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Baekdu, watching the organized chaos of his mixed fleet. Zephyrian pilots flew escort missions for Merdai supply ships. Sylph engineers worked alongside human marines to modify weapons systems. Captain, Commander Kim reported, we've received word from the Krath Empire. War leader Krathnos is requesting a formal parley. After 3 days of trying to kill us, now he wants to talk? Yes, sir. His losses are significant. Through the main window, they could see the wreckage of the battle. Hundreds of pieces of destroyed Krath vessels drifted. In space, the survivors of the once mighty Empire fleet huddled together like wounded animals. Put him through, Deho ordered. War leader Krathnos appeared on the screen. His armor was damaged, and his expression was that of a being who had seen his world, turned upside down. Human captain, he said, you have won this battle, but you cannot win the war. The Empire has allies. The Vex Collective and the Nexus Hierarchy will come. They fear Deathworlders more than they fear defeat. Then we'll deal with them too, Deho replied simply. You do not understand. The combined fleets of 3 empires will number in the thousands. Even Deathworlders cannot face such odds. Dr. Choi Min-ah, who had been listening from the medical bay, stepped forward. War leader, why do you call us Deathworlders? What does that mean to your people? The alien's expression changed. He looked almost afraid. Doctor, most life in the galaxy evolved on peaceful worlds. Low gravity, stable weather, gentle evolution. We learned cooperation, art, philosophy. But some worlds are different. High gravity, violent storms, predators that hunt in packs. Most species that evolve on such worlds destroy themselves before reaching space. But some don't, Dr. Choi prompted. Some survive. They become something else. Stronger, tougher, more determined. They become apex predators from nightmare worlds. We call them Deathworlders, and they are the stuff of legends. Just legends until now. Yes, until now. Sergeant Major Bay was training mixed units of humans and aliens. The differences in capability were startling. Listen carefully, she told a group of Zephyrian volunteers. Human gravity is about 3 times what you're used to. Our weapons are designed for beings who can handle that kind of stress. When you fire a human rifle, brace yourself properly, or it will knock you down. One young Zephyrian raised his hand. Sergeant Major, how do humans fight in such heavy gravity? We don't fight in heavy gravity, we fight in normal gravity. Earth gravity is normal for us. The alien stared at her. Your normal is our extreme environment training. Pretty much, yeah. In the engineering sections, Merdai technicians were working with human engineers to understand each other's technology. The results were fascinating. Your ships, one Merdai engineer told Chief Engineer Park Min-ho, they are built like they expect to be damaged. Multiple redundant systems, thick armor, everything designed to keep working even when broken. That's how we build everything, Park replied. On Earth, if something breaks, people die. So we build things that don't break. But if they do break, then we build them so they keep working anyway. The Merdai looked at the human ship design specifications with something like awe. Your species builds for war without even knowing it. Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung was monitoring long-range communications. The news from across the galaxy was both encouraging and terrifying. "Captain," he reported, "I'm picking up fleet movements from the Vex Collective and Nexus hierarchy. Large movements. They're mobilizing everything they have. How long until they arrive? Best estimate, 4 days. But, sir, there's other news. Resistance groups on 47 worlds have declared independence from their oppressors. They're asking for human support." Daeho studied the galactic map. Red markers showed Krath, Vex, and Nexus territory. But now there were green markers, too. "Rebel forces, freed worlds, and independent systems. We've started something we can't control," he said. "Is that bad?" Kim asked. "I don't know, but it's too late to stop now." Dr. Choi was making medical breakthroughs every day. Her analysis of different species was rewriting galactic medical knowledge. "Velthos," she said to the Veltari elder, "I need to ask you something. Are humans really that unusual?" "Doctor, let me explain it this way. Your average human can survive an atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. You can function in temperature ranges that would kill us. You can recover from injuries that we would consider fatal. But surely some other species are similarly tough? Some. The Krath are warriors, strong and fierce. But even they have only about 70% of human durability. And they are among the strongest species in the galaxy." Dr. Choi was quiet for a moment. "So, when we arrived here, you arrived like myths coming to life. Beings from a nightmare world, impossible, strong, and determined. The Krath expected to fight another peaceful species. Instead, they found creatures that exceeded their worst fears. On Earth, the mobilization continued. Every spacefaring nation was contributing ships and crews to the relief fleet. The Korean discovery had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. Admiral Park So-young addressed the combined Earth fleets from her flagship, the massive battle cruiser Seoul. "People of Earth," she broadcast, "our children answered a cry for help. In doing so, they discovered that humanity has a role to play among the stars. We are not conquerors. We are protectors. Today, we go to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Earth fleet was impressive by any standard. 300 ships, from sleek Korean destroyers to massive American battleships to nimble European frigates. Each vessel carried the hopes of an entire planet. But as they prepared to leave Earth's solar system, they received disturbing intelligence from the front lines. The combined fleets of 3 galactic empires were moving toward human space. Over 2,000 ships, with weapons and technology beyond anything Earth had ever seen. In the asteroid belt, Captain Daeho was preparing for the largest space battle in galactic history. His mixed fleet of rebels and freedom fighters was brave, but they were still outnumbered 10 to 1. "Sir," Commander Kim reported, "long-range sensors are picking up the enemy fleet. They'll be here in 6 hours. Any word from Earth?" "The relief fleet is still 18 hours away." Daeho nodded. "They would have to hold alone for 12 hours against impossible odds." Again, "All ships," he broadcast, "prepare for battle. Today we find out if legends are stronger than reality." Across the rebel fleet, beings from dozens of species prepared for war. They were farmers and miners, artists and engineers. They had never been soldiers, but they had learned from humans that sometimes ordinary people had to do extraordinary things. The Vex collective fleet arrived first. Crystalline ships that sang with harmonic weapons. Their beautiful alien designs moved through space like living art. Then came the Nexus hierarchy. Dark vessels full of cybernetic warriors who had replaced most of their biological parts with machinery. Finally, the surviving Krath Empire forces joined them. Damaged but still dangerous, they sought revenge for their humiliation. Over 2,000 enemy ships faced 200 rebel vessels. "This is War Marshal Vex Harmony of the Collective," came a transmission that sounded like music. "Deathworlders, you have disrupted the galactic order. Surrender now and your deaths will be artistic." "This is Combat Node Prime of the Hierarchy," followed a mechanical voice. "Biological anomalies detected. Recommend immediate termination for galactic stability." "This is Fleet Leader Krath Tal of the Empire," snarled the third voice. "The Deathworlder threat ends here." Captain Deho stood up on his bridge. Around him, his crew worked calmly at their stations. Behind him, through the window, he could see the mixed fleet of rebels and dreamers. "This is Captain Lee Deho of the Human Defense Force," he replied. "You want to know what makes us different? We don't fight for conquest. We don't fight for glory. We fight because someone has to. Stand between bullies and the innocent." "One last chance," War Marshal Vex Harmony sang. "Withdraw or face extinction." Deho smiled. "We don't withdraw. We're from Earth. We don't know how." The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The battle began with the sound of crystals singing death songs. The Vex Collective fired first. Their weapons created waves of harmonic energy that could shatter metal and disrupt electronics. Across space, their crystalline ships moved in perfect formation, like a deadly choir performing for the last time. The Nexus hierarchy attacked next. Streams of plasma and particle beams lanced out from their dark vessels. Each shot was calculated by cybernetic minds that could process 1,000,000 variables in seconds. The Krath Empire, hungry for revenge, charged forward with everything they had left. Energy cannons and missile swarms filled the space between the fleets. 2,000 ships opened fire on 200. The rebel fleet should have been destroyed in the first minutes. Instead, something impossible happened. The humans fought back. Captain Deho watched the tactical display as his mixed fleet scattered into attack formations that made no sense to galactic military doctrine. Human ships moved in patterns learned from asteroid mining. Alien volunteers followed them with desperate courage. "All ships," he broadcast, "show them what freedom looks like." The Korean destroyer Incheon was the first to prove that legends could be real. Caught between 3 Vex ships, it should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, it flew straight through their formation, mining lasers cutting crystalline hulls apart like they were made of glass. Sergeant Major Bay led a boarding action that would be talked about for centuries. Her target was a Nexus command ship, heavily defended and considered impregnable. She took 50 Marines and 20 alien volunteers into hell itself. The Nexus vessel was designed for cybernetic beings. The atmosphere was toxic to most life. The gravity was set to crush organic creatures. Radiation levels would kill normal species in minutes. For humans from Earth, it was just another day at the office. "Contact front," one of her Marines called. "Out." The Nexus defenders were more machine than flesh. They moved with perfect coordination and fired with mechanical precision. But they had been designed to fight the galaxy's peaceful species. They had never faced Earth's children. Bay's Marines moved through the ship like they owned it. When the artificial gravity increased to crushing levels, they kept fighting. When toxic gases flooded the corridors, they sealed their suits and continued the advance. "Impossible," one Nexus unit transmitted before Bay's rifle fire ended its existence. "Biological entities cannot function in these conditions." "We're not biological entities," Bay replied. "We're humans." In space, Dr. Choi Min-ah coordinated medical support for the entire rebel fleet. Her sickbay on the Baekdu was filled with wounded from a dozen species, but she had learned to treat them all. "Doctor," a wounded Zephyrian pilot said, "how are we winning? The numbers say we should all be dead." Dr. Choi looked at her patient, then at the human Marine in the next bed who was being treated for wounds that would have killed most galactic species. "We're winning because we don't know how to lose," she said. "And because we're teaching everyone," else how to be strong. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed, but the pattern was clear. For every rebel vessel lost, 3 or 4 Empire ships were eliminated. Lieutenant Yoon Jae-sung monitored communications from across the galaxy. What he heard was the sound of a galaxy changing. "Sir," he reported to Captain Dae-ho, "I'm picking up transmissions from rebel forces everywhere. They're winning. On dozens of worlds, the resistance is pushing back their oppressors. How is that possible?" "They're using human tactics, sir, and they're not afraid anymore." Commander Kim Tae-woo studied the tactical situation. It was still. "Desperate, but no longer hopeless. Captain, we've destroyed or disabled over 300 enemy vessels. Our losses are 47 ships, mostly alien volunteers who fought beyond their capabilities." Dae-ho felt a moment of sadness for the brave beings who had died fighting for freedom. Then he turned back to the battle. The tide turned when the Earth fleet arrived. Admiral Park So-young's voice cut through the chaos of battle like a sword. "This is Admiral Park So-young of the Earth Defense Force. Any ship attacking peaceful beings in this system has 10 seconds to withdraw or face the consequences." 300 fresh human ships dropped out of FTL space and into the largest battle the galaxy had ever seen. The Soul led them, massive and proud, followed by vessels from every nation on Earth. The Empire fleets suddenly found themselves facing 500 human ships plus the rebel allies. The odds had changed. War Marshal Vex Harmony transmitted one final message. "This is impossible. How can one species change the balance of galactic power?" Admiral Park answered personally. "Because we're not just one species anymore. We're everyone who believes in freedom." The Vex collective ships tried to retreat in their perfect formations. The human fleet let them go. They had come to protect, not to conquer. The Nexus hierarchy fought to the last ship, their cybernetic minds unable to process defeat. When it was over, their surviving units transmitted a simple message. "Threat assessment updated. Recommend." Immediate peace negotiations. The Krath Empire, proud and stubborn, fought longest of all. Fleet leader Krathtal refused to surrender even when his flagship was surrounded. "Deathworlders," he snarled over the communication link. "You have won this battle, but there will be others. The Empire spans half the galaxy." Captain Dae-ho, now aboard Admiral Park's flagship, answered with quiet determination. "Fleet leader, the Empire as you know it is over. The species you've oppressed are free now. They know they can fight back. They know they can win. And if we refuse to accept this new reality," Admiral Park stepped forward, "then you'll face the combined fleets of free worlds, led by Earth. We don't want war, but we'll fight if we have to. And you'll win. Yes, we'll win." Fleet leader Krathtal looked at the tactical display showing the wreckage of 3 Empire fleets. Then he looked at the humans who had done the impossible. "The legends were true," he said quietly. "Deathworlders. I surrender my forces. The battle was over. The war for galactic freedom had begun." In the weeks that followed, the news spread to every corner of the galaxy. The Empire fleets had been defeated. The Deathworlders were real, and they were everything the stories claimed. But more importantly, they were protectors. Dr. Choi Min-ah established medical clinics on dozens of freed worlds, teaching alien doctors about human resilience and determination. Her methods saved millions of lives and gave entire species new hope. Sergeant Major Bay trained rebel forces across the galaxy, teaching them that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Her students became the backbone of the new Galactic Defense Force. Commander Kim developed new military doctrines that combined human tactics with alien technology. His strategies were studied on every free world and became the foundation for a new way of war. Lieutenant Yoon coordinated communications between hundreds of species, helping them build the first truly galactic alliance based on equality and mutual respect. Captain Dae-ho became the first human ambassador to the Galactic council representing not just Earth but all free peoples. His simple message resonated across the stars. We stand together, or we fall apart. Admiral Park commanded the new Galactic Defense Fleet, a massive force dedicated to protecting peaceful worlds from aggression. Under her leadership, piracy and conquest became things of the past. The Korean fleet that had answered a simple distress call had changed everything. The galaxy was no longer divided between predators and prey. Now there were guardians. On Earth, children learned about the day humanity found its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. Not as destroyers, but as defenders. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they brought with them a simple promise. Never again would the innocent suffer while Earth's children drew breath. The age of empires was over. The age of freedom had begun. In the asteroid belt where it all started, a monument was built from the wreckage of the first battle. It bore a simple inscription in hundreds of languages. Here, 7 ships answered a cry for help. Here, the galaxy learned that some voices should never be ignored. Here, freedom began. The Deathworlders had kept their promise. The innocent were safe. And across the galaxy, on worlds both strange and wonderful, beings looked up at the stars and knew that somewhere out there, Earth's children stood watch in the darkness, ready to answer any call for help. The universe was a dangerous place, but it was no longer a hopeless one. The Deathworlders were here,